It's Tuesday morning, and perhaps our biggest guest to date, an absolute legend, multi-sport legend, a former Dubs player, Irish Basketball International, World Rover, multiple championships with DCU, Mercy, 5-time varsities champion, and now plying her trade as a rugby player with the Irish team and Leinster Rugby. It is the one, the only. It's Lindsay Peat. Hey everybody, it's Jago here with the Shot Clock Podcast. Today I'm sitting down with a legend of many, many sports, former ABF RC and DCU Mercy player. Let's go multi-sport now. Leinster Rugby, Irish Rugby, Dublin. Parnell's GAA.
Good man.
Go Parnell's first.
Yeah.
And
the Dubs.
Legend. Lindsay Peat, welcome to the podcast. I'm sitting here, I'm fanboying now. I can't believe I have you on.
Well, Jesus, the feeling's mutual. I'm there going, Jago is interviewing me, and thanks so much for having me on, honestly.
Lindsay, you had to be on. You know what I mean? You had to be on. Like, if anybody deserves their own episode, it's you, right? So we'll start at the start. We'll go through everything and we'll see how long this takes, because I have a feeling it'll be like Tuesday or Wednesday by the time we finish. But anyway.
Minimum.
So look, I started every episode the same about COVID and, you know, the lockdown and the whole lot, but now we're coming back out of it. You're back training with the rugby. How are you finding transitioning back to the real world after that lockdown for so long?
Do you know what? I was very lucky to be able to continue to train. I was one of the few teams we were allowed to train. Now, there was kind of ups and downs within that. You know, we were meant to have World Cup qualifiers kind of last December 2020. Before that was September 2020. So COVID has its impact. However, I was so grateful to keep training. So from that aspect, it was great to have a focus. It was great to get out of the house. I don't miss homeschooling or work from home and trying to homeschool at the same time. That I'm not a good multitasker in that sense. So I was like, Jesus. But yeah, I think it just puts into perspective, you know, everything we spoke before we started, how special the green jersey is. I had that at basketball with Ireland. That gave me the goo. It gave me that, it was the bug that bit. I know basketball itself it just bit me from the moment I picked up the basketball, but I'd never made an underage Irish team. So to make a senior Irish team was just the moment of all moments in my sporting career. It still is. And to be able to now use that experience and all those feelings and try to replicate that in an Irish rugby jersey has been immense. And I suppose when you strip all that back, I was allowed to go over the memories in the last year, reconnect with people, talk about old stories. The Masters trying to get back in tournaments and, you know, get a pickup game. And even I met Ethan McDermott over the lockdown when we were kind of in and out, and there's a cool court down in Ringsend, and we actually played a pickup game, and your man obviously recognised us from the rugby, but he goes, "Oh, you look like you've played a bit." And we were like, yeah, we did actually. And we didn't have the heart to tell him. We're like, yeah, don't worry about it, son. 2 ex-Irish internationals, like absolutely schooling us. And it was great. Like we weren't assholes about it either, do you know what I mean? But we like really enjoyed, and we took the moments to kind of show off the fancy shots or whatever, or a couple of drives to the basket with a bit of a windmill thrown in, you know. And so it was nice time. I took the time to take stock. I also enjoyed, to be honest, it's kind of hard juggling everything. So to be away from, we have a 5-year-old, to be away from my wife and my son, it's a selfish decision I make for me because I have it, but it was nice to kind of try and reconnect with them and be home and spend the time. So I enjoyed it. It was a nice mix for me, to be honest, Jacob. Really nice mix.
Very honest answer. You know, like it's tough for people. People don't really realize, you know, the bubble that they're in. Like we spoke about off camera, when you're in that high intensity bubble of elite sport, you know, it's not until you step back from it that you realize the pressure that you're under. And to be able to step back over the last year while still training, but not really having a definitive goal to aim for, was nice. That you could, you know, what we're training for a tournament that will take place sometime in the future.
Yeah, whenever COVID buzzes off.
It's like a badly written sci-fi movie. It's like, yeah, sometime in the future there will be a tournament. Like, all right,
Yes.
cool, yeah.
And we cannot wait. But I think, didn't it bring back the social side of people? Like, you were able to actually, it was nice to pick up the phone to people, or you actually enjoyed meeting people. And it sounds kind of cutthroat, but you're actually able to strip back the people that you really missed and you really connected with. And I think the basketball community really connected on a very different level, because if I'm honest, it was the one sport I was so sad. Like, after Jordan's, after the Netflix series, like, now when I say, man, I adored it. Like, I'm in me Jordan nostalgia.
Jordan's there, yeah.
Yeah, I root with this out, especially for this tournament. Any opportunity I'm getting, I'm like, I'll throw on. You should see the pair of Jordans I have as well. I would have put them on, except we're not interviewing my feet. But like, I just thought from the kind of surge of motivation that like generated for us as a sport, and I was like, oh, I can't wait for basketball to get back to what we were like when me and you were growing up. Yeah. And the absolute buzz about it. When COVID hit, I just thought that stripped us back to, basketball Ireland. We're getting back to a place where we're getting teams back to the international level. We're getting people, invested again. And I really think the one sport, a lot of the indoor sports, everyone was affected, don't get me wrong. But, we're having a special connection to, being a baller and whatever, I thought was really affected. But I was able to, having the Wild Rovers groups and having the crack, and as I said, go down to Trish Nolan and connecting with Michelle Fahey when we could, and Vicky Rand, who I've known since I was 16 and played with. These are all people I met through basketball. Yeah. And to strip all that back and remind myself of all the just amazing family members I met from, as I said, started playing at 13. They're still there, like 27 years later. Like, that's testament to the family we have,
But that's basketball.
Oh, that is basketball.
That's Irish basketball. That's basketball. That's what it is. Like, I started this podcast and I was like, Jesus, like, I don't know whether people are going to want to come on, and I'll send a few messages and see who I can get, And then you're any chance, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, okay. And oh yeah, I'll do that. And you're like, oh Jesus. And then all of a sudden, like, now it's getting to the point where people are texting me going, when are you doing my episode? And you're like, oh.
I'll start you to make the list, yeah.
Hang on, yeah, I'm working my way through. I'll get to you, like, but like, it's just. It was that I'd missed basketball so much that I needed to connect to people that, made me smile when I was a kid. The Rick Leonards, the Gabe Jacksons, Lenny, and then guys I played with like Pat Glover and Dave Donnelly, and just to be able to sit and talk about old war stories. It makes you feel young again.
Yeah. And it gives you that giddy feeling, like, because that's the other thing. There are unique personalities in the basketball world. There was always the Madzers, there was always the high intellect, the shooters, like all those personalities that we used to. They were on every team. Yeah. And like obviously I played with the likes of Sharon and Katrina White and, all these Madzers who I just love and adore, but I know would lay their body on the line for me. So yeah, it's a unique family that, just shout out a lot of love to all of them.
Yeah, shout out to the whole basketball community in Ireland. We'll get on to stuff you've done after the under-20s were trolled, but we'll get on to that later on. Let's go back to the start. You said ABFRC. I remember that gym. I remember the drive-through McDonald's across from the gym. I don't know whether that's a good or a bad thing or not.
I think that was the perk of having to go to the hall that never had grip.
Probably was, yeah. But who, what, or why inspired you to pick up a ball for the first time?
Do you know what? Actually, it was my mum. It was funny enough. It's gas. It's typically Irish, isn't it? My mum met a girl she went to school with, and her brother was setting up a basketball team. So randomly, my mum came home, didn't ask me, kind of told me. She's like, so I met so-and-so, and her brother's setting up a basketball team, so you're going to join it on Saturday. And I remember going across, and I was like, all right. And went across to we used to play, as you look at the ABFRC, to the courts on the left first. Really narrow. Do you remember the really narrow backboards? We loved it. And we went over there, and that was our first training session. And it was kind of a bit slow. Now, the two lads I hung around with that time, Bernard and Brian Whiston, Bernard Rowe and Brian Whiston, who both would have played with Leicester underage. They had started, we used to play soccer, and they were my only two neighbours at that age. And then they started picking up a ball. So it kind of mixed. It was my mum first sent me over to ABFRC, and then we started picking up the ball with the lads. And it was like a duck to water. I absolutely loved the fact that I could consistently get the ball in the basket. And then there was other poor little mites who could like be chucking them but barely get up to the net or barely pass the ball. And that's just beginners basketball. But because I was playing with the outdoor courts with the lads, you were picking up a ball all the time. It just took over. Like, I adored basketball. And you're talking about the drive through McDonald's. If we were going anywhere walking, you'd be putting the ball through your legs, we'd bounce. And I'd say to the neighbours, like, if I hear the echo of a basketball, I will kill it. But that's where it started, really. So like, little did my mum know. Like, honestly, I describe my mum as a female Gakwan. Like, she's just a beautiful soul. She's mad for the crack. She's so sociable. She knows the importance of those team settings and being involved in something to keep you off the streets and all that. But as regards the sport and thing, no, she wouldn't have known from that angle. And little did she know, she just opened up a world. And I suppose she only said to me the other day, like, she probably, only looking back at it now, probably didn't take enough opportunity. I remember they came to one game and Marie O'Toole was coaching with Mark. And I'll tell you that story down the line, but I got hauled off and he's absolutely spewing at me. And I'd say they never came to a game after that. But it was good crack. I was like, typically they come to one game, I'm hauled off, being given out to, Marie's ejected from the gym. So I was like, it was all kicking off, it was gas.
Amazing.
But yeah, it was her. It was just her. It took off.
Brilliant. My mum and dad bought me my first ball as well. Strange, isn't it? Like that, there was an outdoor sport, but we were talking off camera. The ball was part of our hand when we grew
all the time.
24/7. We played basketball. We were on the courts, and kids need to get back to that now. Look at that beautiful summer out there. Get out and play.
100%. And if anyone is involved in any local authorities and you have the money, develop our parks, develop our outdoor spaces. Ireland is a country that needs to just get out and utilise the space, because that's what me and you had growing up. That's where we connected with people. Like, our pickup games in ABFRC, like, as we mentioned off camera, Fran Stacey, Jared Larkin, Dave Larkin, Paddy Kelly, who else do we have? Fran Stacey, Sharon, the Scallies. Like, the pickup game was 20 kids up there day in, day out. People would come, from the court, other courts, play with us.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't get that in a National League level, like, for that age group. I was like, this is unbelievable. Like, this is better than any training.
Yeah.
And then, as I said, they'd be schooling you. But you either come back and were ready to get better, or you just fucked off and dried your tears.
Look, that's the truth. You know what I mean? And when you stuck with it, you went far. You know what I mean? That's the thing. Like, what we learned back then is the reason we're still around now.
Yeah, and
you're at a different level than I ever was.
No,
still,
that's not true now, my friend. Don't make me come through the screen and sort shit out. That's not true. Like, I have been blessed to be able to transfer the skills and the ethos and the work ethic. And I said that in the video for the under-20s. Every valuable life lesson that I learned was through the basketball family. I do not take that away, and I'll never not put that forward, because that's where my tough times were. That's the fucking amazing, excuse my language, the amazing people who got me through that. And took up with my crap when I was going through some hard times, and probably had the skill level, but my attitude was poor. So everything that I learned genuinely was through the basketball community. And without that reassurance and going through that process and believing that I could add something, or just going through the journey I needed to, that's all from basketball. Like, I was 20 years nearly learning all that. Like, I was nearly 30 before I made 26 before I made the senior Irish team. And that progressed on to Dublin, and then I progressed on to an Irish rugby team. And as I said, those foundations were laid, and it is the life lessons, it's the mistakes I learned. And if you want it that badly, if you want that jersey sitting behind you, proudest punch on your wall, it's that. And that's where I'm like, I am about positive. I'd never give up. As much as I'm kind of barking, I'd never give up. But mistakes are good. And I don't think we allow, when we're teaching kids, enough to make it. It's all right. Just keep going. Anytime I've coached, I've asked for two things. Never tell me you can't do it, and just give me everything you got. They're the only two things I ever asked for. As regards making me improve, that's my job as a coach.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your attitude is all on you.
Absolutely. I've two things. I always say to the team, don't be afraid to fail once you fail forward. And the other thing is, never apologize. I don't want to hear sorry. I just don't want to hear, like, as a nation, we apologize too much. Yeah. Oh, sorry about that. Sorry. No. So I've banned the word sorry from my training sessions. Good. Because I just, you've nothing to apologize. You made a mistake. Learn from it. Don't apologize. Yeah. You've done nothing to me. You've lost the ball. Just go and be better the next time. That's it. You know what I mean?
Or work hard to get it back.
Yeah.
They're the options.
Exactly.
You know?
Absolutely. So over the years, DCU lifer, 2-time league winner, 2-time National Cup winner, 4-time or 5-time varsities champion. That's just basketball. We'll leave everything else to the side for the minute. Who's been your favourite teammate and why? And it's a very tough question because obviously playing with the Wild Rovers now, you've got a whole bunch of different personalities there.
Yeah, so I'm not stupid either. So I've gone through this list. So I'm going to give I've played with exceptional players. Like this would be the hardest question I've ever had to take. And I actually am going to pick Mary Fox, who was our American. And listen, like you said, I'd Sharon, I'd Suzanne McGuire, Julian Hayes, Michelle Aspel, Katrina White. Who else got? Elaine Scally. I played against Denise Walsh, Michelle Fahey, Grania Dwar, Niamh Dwar. The list is endless. And I couldn't pick one out of that group. But why I picked Mary is we spoke before we got on about, I suppose, players coming in and immersing themselves. And Mary Fox to me was the utmost professional of how her application, how she bought in. She eventually played for Ireland and she stayed here for 3 years. She brought her family over. And Mary stripped back and gave all of herself. She played D1 at Iowa State. I'm still in touch with her now. I miss her. You know, I had great fun around her. She was always great fun. And she was just a great friend. And that's not to say any of the players that they're still amazing people. But just probably one that came to mind that she had hard times here. Some of our Americans didn't last. They didn't buy in. They didn't. And I hated that. I hated that you were coming here and taking money ahead of players that don't get paid and do it on an amateur basis and give their lives to it. I need more from you. So it's probably quite hard in our pros. But I felt, Mary gave everything that she could have to make us better around her, to make the team better. I thought she sacrificed everything. So for those reasons and what qualities she brought as a player on top of the talent, we certainly had exceptionally talented Irish players that I just listed before there. And I never take that away. And as I said, I'm not going to be stupid and pick one of them. I wish I could combine them all. So I went with Mary. For, as I said, she didn't come in with any airs of graces coming from a D1 school. She really bought in. Yeah, and she was there for some of our most successful periods. And I seen that for likes of Glenmore. I mean, Jennifer Strong did it for them. She was exceptional. And there were some very lucky teams throughout the league. And I know, obviously, the men's league always had the mixture between the 1 pro and the 2 pros. And we were exceptional with Clyde, what Mark would have had at Gillespie at times. There were some exceptional players. But yeah, to be part of that on a player playing with someone, I got frustrated with a lot of them. So yeah, I'm going to pick Mary.
It's a good choice. Yeah. Excellent choice. So over the years, you've played against probably when you came into the league, the late 80s, early 90s for me was such an amazing time for women's basketball in Ireland with the likes of Angie McNally, you June Blount, you Anne-Marie Coynes, you know what I mean? Amazing players. But who's been the toughest person you've had to guard while you were playing in the league? And then likewise, who's that one person that you'd go, Jesus, I really don't want her to guard me tonight?
Well, I'm going to start with the second part of that question, and it kills me to give it to her, right? Because when me and her were playing against each other, Niamh Dwyer drove me absolutely cracked. And so much so it took us a while to get that relationship going when we were playing in Irish teams together. And I remember playing up in Donegal, right? In Letterkenny, decided to move to finals. We were playing Glenmore. Marcus said to me, if Lindsay's in good form, the team be in good form. So Marcus always trying to keep me relaxed, Whereas I'm playing fire starter in my head, ready to set the place alight. And Niamh comes up and she goes, best of luck today, or something to that nature, but she certainly slapped me and I absolutely lost it. It was gone. I was gone. My head was gone. Probably that then impacted the team. The team were gone, and all because she knew how to play me. And not only that, she just knew how to annoy me in the court. She used to do this thing, like taking a charge, be so dramatic. And I was like, I swear. And I just get so angry. I was like, that's not etiquette. That's not basketball etiquette. Don't start that. And she came, obviously, she was on scholarship in the States and she was unbelievable. So as regards it kills me. It kills me, but I'm going to give it to Niamh to her. I absolutely hate her because she's the same mentality as myself. She'd never give up. She'd never let you go. And she thrived on getting one over in you. And probably second to her would have been Aspel. She was so same, not as demented as Niamh or myself, but her sheer athleticism. Who was the toughest to mark in the league? Dervla Breen was exceptional. Dervla was an exceptional point guard and extremely smart. Denise Walsh was another one, but I didn't get to kind of cross over with Denise enough. I didn't have success underage at that stage. Like, she was number one for Ger, and rightly so. She was exceptional. She was playing with Tolka. She would have played with Castle Island for a while. She was obviously so successful in schools basketball, but unfortunately we didn't cross over at that time. Probably Dervla.
Yeah,
was the one I hated.
Super players. Niamh Dwyer, what a player, and transitioning to coaching now as well.
So smart. Yeah, she's so smart. And that was the thing about Niamh. Like, I suppose Mark had alluded to, I probably had all the athletic attributes, but as regards being this orthodox point guard who was able to control a team, no, I was probably the craziest. And that was the hard bit. And I also came from a street ball background. Like, I tried with street ball. So Mark wanted me to be, Mark, he was so regimented with his plays. I was like, for God's sake. So we were we'd have to find that happy ground. So you know how he works. If it worked out if my mad decisions worked out, then he was happy. If I made a crazy decision and it was against the play, then I was kind of benched. So yeah, we had to come to that common ground. But I loved it.
Brilliant. So, multi-sport athlete, many different pre-game routines depending on the sport you're playing. But have you any superstitions? And do they transfer between sports?
Yes. So I'd only be comfortable saying this. So hopefully it goes like obviously worldwide and you're going to be on the show. And don't forget us, Jago, when you're on Saturday Night Live, okay? But yeah, when I was younger, it had to be the same underwear, same undershorts, same sportswear, same socks. Right, that was a must. I remember playing an under 18 maybe game against Gloucester, and something wasn't washed, maybe undershorts, and we lost. And I actually had a bad game, and I was like, "That's because of the undershorts." That is 100% because I didn't wear the right undershorts. Like, that's how crazy it was. Food wise, this is so primitive Dublin. Like, Anne, our manager for the Irish team, we used to eat in one of the little Italian restaurants in Tala Village before home games, and they'd be the best of food, pizzas, pasta, you name it. And pasta didn't agree with me. I just can't digest it. Still to these days, like, everyone's like, pasta, look, pasta pre-game. I was like, oh, I loathe pasta. Do not give it to me. And mine was like, I was like, Anne, I'm really sorry, but in my head, I'm just not settled. I need to get my pre-match meal. And it's basically like, those French baguettes with just butter and like basically a packet of ham. That'd be it. And like a bottle of Volvic. And I'd mix that kind of with Lucozade Sport. Even to this day, I'd have a lot more like liquid glucose, that liquid fuel, because I'd be so nervy before a game and I'd have to be 4 hours on the boat and 4 hours before tip off. I'm looking back on, you are a weirdo. But that helped the head. So if they were all right, I was relaxed. If that didn't go to plan, I was like, no, it's going to be a bad day. And then I'd be up in my head. And that's, life has been a journey now. I'm like going back and going, man, you sent yourself crazy with all these superstitions that you 100% believed in. And the power of the mind led you to believe that. It impacted you so much because I couldn't relax. Same thing with a warm-up. We were so many years, like one of the semi-finals against Glenmore, I went into triple overtime. Jennifer Strong scored from the corner. Mark specifically to this day said, I told nobody to help off that second screen for her. She hit the hardest shot in the arena. For spectators, I'd say it was the best game of basketball that year. It was unbelievable, punch for punch, toe for toe, you name it, basket for basket. And we eventually got over the hump and got to the final after many, many heartaches between basically Glenmore and UL. But in those warm-ups, I used to think if I wasn't so serious, it wouldn't set the tone. I wouldn't be concentrating and we'd be losing the game. That actually, looking back, and it had the total opposite effect because I was so intense. I'd say all my teammates were absolutely crapping themselves to make a mistake. And they were having the giggles and the laughs. Like one of our best games before UL and their unbeaten 54-game streak or something, we ended. But the night before, Mary Fox's brothers come over and we had to basically go down and escort them out of the Gravediggers. So we'd been trained in DCU. We left them at Matt Weldon's. We went over, we left a message that they were going to the graveyard. We're like, I don't know where that is. But the cemetery, they kept calling it the cemetery. We're like, oh, do they mean the Gravediggers? Because they kept going on about the cemetery and all the Irish history around Glasnevin. And we went down to the Gravediggers. Now, her eldest brother, Pat, was so prim and proper. His cap was facing forward, didn't say very much. Now, when we found Pat, his denim shirt was open to reveal his white T-shirt. His cap was backwards and he had a Guinness in one hand, a whiskey in the other, and he'd found probably the local, without being offensive, resident alcoholic in that pub, and that was his new best friend. So we all went down and the atmosphere was great, to be fair, but we were playing UL the next day away from home. They were, I think, 52 games, if not 54 games, unbeaten at this stage. So this Dervla, Brain, this Maura Guiney, this unbelievable team. But anyway, it ended up the lads were having drinks and I'm the captain this time. I'm like, oh my God, if Mark Ingle walks into this pub right now, I don't know what to say to him. The girls were in flying spirits. We absolutely hockeyed UL the next day. Everyone was so relaxed. It was such an enjoyable game. Tracy Gain had come over by chance from a contract that ended in Spain. She's like one of the last two to be signed with Susan Moore for the New York Liberty. So this is the caliber of player we got. And I think we ended up beating them by 30 points and ending their run. And all because we had such a good night and relaxed. I remember, like, actually, that was typically Suzanne McGraw. Like, she had one of these particular train sessions, and she was unbelievable this one Friday night. I said, Bird, what's the story? You are on fire tonight. She's like, too long next to Bud before training. Right as rain. Now, she wouldn't have done that all the time. She just, I'd say, had a, crappy day in work. But, like, she just was like, yeah. That's what, she was just relaxed coming into training and it was just like unbelievable. Now, the other fact of that is it's Suzanne McGraw. Could I do that? No. Could many athletes?
Not many people could.
No. So let me be that. She was unbelievable. So yeah, they're the stories, they're the superstitions, but looking back at them now, I'm like, wow, you're crazy.
So moving on. Favorite kicks of all time. What was your go-to shoe when you were playing?
So I had these, I used to, we all had the boots and you always thinking your ankle, I hated them eventually. So I had two lovely pairs. My probably top was the pair of the low rise and Reebok Iversons, the zip. They were unbelievable. The grip, unbelievable. So comfortable. They were secure. And that like the grip noise. You used to test your shoes on the grip noise.
Oh, yeah.
100%. So they were my probably go-to, and I had a lovely low pair of Kobe's as well. They were my two go-tos.
And what about with rugby? What's your go-to shoe?
Too funny. I love Adidas, which is so funny because I only wore Nike. Now, Iversons were the only other shoe I went outside of Nike. And they were by chance. I think I was maybe in the States or family was in the States and they just brought them home cheap by chance and I loved them. But they were very hard to get because, like in the States, Reeboks is big, but no, they were really, you'd be getting your shit in Foot Locker and it'd be buyers looking at Nike all the time. Rugby, I'm meant to wear a front row boot, but I absolutely hate them. I feel like I'm wearing like steel cap boots. So I tend to wear like a back row boot and they're always Adidas, just really light, secure. I can try and do a bit of basketball moves, attempt it. Probably in my head, it looks better than it actually is in the rugby pitch.
Well, here's the question, right? So multi-sport athlete, do you find yourself reverting back to your primal thoughts of basketball when you're on the rugby pitch? Because obviously with Gaelic, there is that transition now with like Darren McGovern from Aina is working with the Wicklow rugby team or Wicklow GAA team. Jason was obviously involved with the Dubs for so long. You've Micheál Quirk, ex-basketball player, Donaghy. Aidan O'Sullivan. Like, there's so many like crossover athletes now. But do you find Liam McHale, obviously the original? Do you find yourself going back mentally when you get that ball going, right, if I jab step here and cross over, she's gone? Is that like, do you still go back to that?
100%. And I wasn't kind of a spin move person, I was kind of in and out, forward dribble through the legs, hesitate and go. I try bring that in all the time. If I was more of a, the post players like pivoting up, I'm like, you could totally do that, on a rugby pitch. Plus, I always want a fast break. Like, this was the total thing at the start. They were like, no, we need to reset. I'm like, no, let's move the ball. I don't understand. Like, I wanted to go, go, go. So when Adam Griggs plays like Brumbies or Fiji touch, I'm like, yes, it's like 3v3. It's like fast break. It's like 11-man fast break. I'm like, yes, I'm back home, baby.
Brilliant.
I just want to move it, and I love the speed of it. And I would have loved to try sevens. Now, I have no doubt that whether I was going to be fit enough or bring any of those skills, I just think it's easier to manipulate the full pitch with lesser numbers. Do you get what I mean? And I would have started a bit to kind of accelerate my transition from basketball, football to rugby with sevens, and I enjoyed it because you could just, like, it's only one over the ruck. You really have to make your tackle and you can identify the space. But 15s can be kind of, it's definitely progressing much quicker. Like, if you can see the men's game, it's quite quick. Obviously, there's kicks to territory. You're trying to challenge for kicks. They're trying to make the game more exciting, obviously. And we're going to get there. We are going to get there. You can see some of the French were sublime. I know we had a bad loss. Probably score didn't really probably reflect our performance. We were certainly punished for 3 poor mistakes with 3 tries. 21 points to shift in so many, in very short time is a killer mentally.
Yeah.
But they're just phenomenal athletes, and how they play the game, their line speed, how quickly they transitioned from turning the ball over. I'd love to see us do that. Now we're getting there. Like, we were unbelievable, and we rightly finished third overall in the tournament of 6 teams. But I think we definitely, if we're taking anything from the tournament, I'd love for us to be able to transition, because we've so many skillful players. Adam will give us that license to do that and try new things, and obviously stick within the game plan as well. So it's very like basketball. You're trying to, obviously, you fast break when it's on, you run your plays when it's on, you scout the other team and know their weaknesses and their strengths, and that doesn't change when it comes. We do a lot of video with rugby. Like, we'll have a huddle app, and we get to go through everything from training now this weekend, and you look over it, and if you have any questions, you relate to the coach and staff. So it's an excellent setup, and one that's gone from strength to strength. And like, looking back with basketball, I'm like, we're in such a good place with some amazing players. I'd love if we could get it back up and running, invest some more money, but we'll get there. We will get there.
So there you go, part 1 of Lindsay's episode. More to come in part 2. We talk about the Irish women's team, her fight for the court, which is challenging Grania Dwyer's team. Should be an epic battle between the two ladies on court. Big shout out to the Irish under-18 ladies team, Carol Kilbride and Tommy O'Mahony there, getting a huge win against Hungary in their last game of the tournament. Absolutely fantastic performance by everybody. Big shout out to Lucy Coogan. Amazing. 29 points in the last game. I think she was 7 for 8 from 3. Like, unbelievable. The future of Irish basketball, the future of Irish women's basketball is safe, looking at what's coming through between the 18s and 20s, and also the young girls who made their debut with the Irish senior team 2 weeks ago. Paul Kelleher, big friend of the show. Shout out to him and the under-18 boys who flew out on the 1st of August to compete in their European Championships, or whatever, challengers, is that what they're being called these days? Big shout out to them. Best of luck, guys. We'll be tuning in, and everybody here at Shot Clock Towers will be tuned in and rooting for you every single day. One last thing before I sign off today. As you may have seen in the Instagram story, I have emailed Minister Jack Chambers just to ask him what he's at. That's the easiest way of putting it. What are you at? Indoor sport, still no return. The Irish senior men's are competing in less than a week in front of their home, or in what should be in front of their home crowds. Isaac Westbrook's absolute genius analogy during the week. There will be more people sitting in the penny black pub at the entrance to the basketball arena than are in the basketball arena supporting our men. Minister Chambers, on behalf of the Irish basketball community, please come on, sit down and talk to me. Answer our questions and tell us when we can get back in the gym. And until Thursday in part 2 of Lindsay's episode, this is Jago saying, I'll see you on the court soon, but more than likely, it'll be outdoors.